This is Hannibal here from thehannibaltv.com, by far Canada's most popular wrestling YouTube channel, with a huge Good Friday update. WWE has been sold, AEW is going to a massive arena. WrestleMania just wrapped up, the most profitable one in history. So let's jump right into it. And again, let me know your thoughts on WrestleMania in the comments. I'm curious to know what you all think. But let's start off with the news of WWE merging with Endeavor to form a new company with UFC called NewCo that is going to be traded on the stock market under the name TKO. Two very dominant brands. One, WWE, by far the number one in wrestling as far as profits. Same with UFC for MMA. Bellator used to be closer, but now it's extremely far behind. Apparently, the deal is expected to be finalized in 4 to 6 months, and the idea is to create a company with a stock market value of over $21 billion. Apparently, there was no actual cash transactions related to this acquisition. Vince McMahon did not exactly sell the WWE, but joined it with WWE. He is still going to be the key person in power with the new company. McMahon and Ari Emanuel of Endeavor will be the key decision makers as far as WWE business goes going forward, with Nick Khan being the CEO, and WWE president Dana White will still be in charge of UFC. The new company is going to be publicly traded, and there is basically going to be probably some releases as far as this merger, because some of the people that have previously been doing separate jobs could do the same job for both companies. Apparently, Vince McMahon was back in full force at Raw in LA, changing the show around at the last minute. And as much as people complain about it, it was the highest rated Raw in 3 years. So I really don't have any sympathy for these wrestlers making a fortune. Everybody has bosses, and a lot of bosses. You got to do what they say. Triple H, I didn't watch Raw. I only saw the highlights. I liked the Brock Lesnar Cody Rhodes thing. I heard there was a lot of talking. Heard there was only like 2 minutes of wrestling in the first hour. But from the previous Raws I've seen under the Triple H regime, there's been a hell of a lot of talking too. So WWE had their most successful WrestleMania of all time from a business standpoint. Company is more popular now than it was a year ago. Well, the pandemic really killed it in a lot of ways. People didn't like watching wrestling without the crowds. So it's kind of refreshing to see it again with crowds. They didn't release too many business notes from the show. They claim that there was 161,892 fans over both nights, which they claimed was 80,497 the first night. The real number the first night was supposedly 67,303. And the second night was 67,553. They had claimed 81,395 the second night. But they always exaggerate the nights. That's common for them. Last year in Dallas did 3,000 lower each night, but both arenas could have held more. The LA arena could hold up to 95,000 fans, and the Dallas arena could have held more last year too, but splitting it into 2 nights, they make more money. As much as the show is watered down, The gate was 10.8 million per night, so total of 21.6 million. Of course, viewership was up because more people are subscribing to Peacock now. Peacock, I think, is about $5 a month, and you get more than WWE programming. You get a shitload of other programming for that $5 a month. So it's not like people are dishing out $75 for pay-per-views anymore. I think if they actually had to make money on these based on pay-per-view buys, they might put a tad bit more effort into the cards to make them much see. But they did still have some pay-per-view buys. Apparently, the first night for people that weren't subscribers, they had 22,700 buys, and the second night, 22,900 buys. I can say it's funny because, let's face it, people having epic fails like this is funny. They bring up the Shane McMahon, who's 53 now, tore his quad on a leapfrog. And then Snoop Dogg, he was wrestling The Miz. Snoop Dogg ended up taking over the match and pinning The Miz. And the previous night, The Miz was pinned by Pat McAfee. So Miz is pretty much just comic relief now. That it was amazing, all the stunts that Shane's done over the years, and it's the leapfrog that caught him. That's the similar injury of the torn quad that his father, Vince McMahon, had at the Royal Rumble years ago when he made his grand entrance and tore his quads. The biggest complaints about WrestleMania were the long delays between matches. Apparently, for the second night, there was 38 minutes between the end of Edge's match and the beginning of the main event. The shows were really long. I mean, I tapped out after the first night. I can dedicate. I watched the SmackDown Hall of Fame thing, which was just brutally long. The length of it killed me. And then the first WrestleMania night, and I had to tap out. That was too much wrestling for me. Two boring spaces in between, and just I don't know. I got better things to do with my time than waste it with these long delays in between matches, and even the Hall of Fame was so dragged out. Apparently, the live reaction to Austin Theory versus John Cena wasn't great. It was one of the weaker matches. John Cena got one of the biggest pops of WrestleMania, but it seems like Austin Theory is really being shoved down people's throats, unfortunately. NXT had their biggest crowd since the pandemic for their special, 6,100 paid, with over 1,500 comps, 7,584 in the building for that special, which was The Rock's daughter ended up having her debut on that show, but it was on the pre-show. And Rick Steiner's son lost the NXT title. There was rumors he was supposed to debut on Raw on Monday. I mean, he is probably the prospect with the most potential, but there was an alleged incident that took place at WrestleCon with Rick Steiner before Rick Steiner attended the Hall of Fame on Friday, where it was alleged that he made comments towards a transgender wrestler, and this transgender wrestler said, quote, "Another disappointing part of this whole thing was there were other wrestling legends who just sat there, turned their heads away, did not want to get involved or even stand up for what's right because it involved one of the boys," end quote. And this is Giselle Shaw, who says she was rude comments were made to her by Rick Steiner. These were backed up by an Impact announcer and an Impact referee. The only thing I find strange is that no one caught this on tape, and I do find it strange that this person is asking other people to stick up for her. But why didn't she stick up for herself with the announcer and the referee at the time? At some point you also got to stick up for yourself, and it's a terrible thing. It really is. It's unfortunate for everyone involved. Apparently Rick Steiner is not apologizing for it. So that's that. But yeah, that could be the reason why Rick Steiner's son didn't debut on Raw. Butch Miller of the Bushwhackers / Sheep Herders WWE Hall of Fame tag team passed away on April 2nd at 78. He had been living in New Zealand but was in LA for WrestleMania weekend. Apparently, it had to do with some of his medication that he was on. Of course, traveling at that age can mess people up. So sorry to hear about that. Apparently WWE did not mention it on Raw. I guess we'll see if they mention it on SmackDown. Of course, the Bushwhackers were a big part of the WWE in the 80s. There is 2 interviews on this channel with both of the Bushwhackers, one from John Paz last year and one from Jack Kilby on the Great North Wrestling Podcast this year. Apparently, there's a rumor going around that the reason Hulk Hogan hasn't been doing much lately is because there's another lawsuit involving his wife where she might be trying to get some of his earnings, so he may be choosing not to get earnings for that reason, but that's just a rumor. Cena is going to play the love interest of Mermaid Barbie in the new Barbie movie coming out in June. John Cena is also going to be part of a new WWE reality show about WWE recruits that's going to air on Roku. He's also producing that show. Apparently, WWE is receiving $1.5 million to run Backlash in San Juan, Puerto Rico on May the 6th, as well as $300,000 towards renting the building, Jose Miguel Aguilat Arena, where I once watched the WWE. I think it was around 2006. John Cena versus Umaga was the main event. Ric Flair wrestled Kenny Dykstra. Shawn Michaels wrestled Randy Orton. It was one of the better WWE events I've ever seen, to be honest. Carlos Colon helped promote it. And he gave all the WWC wrestlers free tickets. And it was packed. WWE, apparently Randy Orton is not going to be back anytime soon. His back injuries very serious. Edge is talking about possibly retiring soon and would like his last match to be in Toronto. Logan Paul has said his contract's going to expire soon, but there's talk that he may have actually re-signed a contract. Chelsea Green, who is no stranger to injuries, was apparently hospitalized this week with a stomach bug and extended gallbladder. Speedy recovery to her. Dynamite did a 0.30 rating from the USB Arena in Long Island this week before 6,500 fans. NXT did a 0.13 rating. Raw did a 0.76 rating. Best rating in 3 years for the post-WrestleMania Raw, 14,000 fans in attendance. Rampage last Friday did a 0.10 rating. SmackDown last Friday from LA, 0.67 rating before just over 13,000 fans, about 1,000 less than Raw. Impact was up a little bit, did a 0.02 rating. New Japan did a 0.01 rating. MLW did not rate, only had 46,000 viewers on Reels. And the Women of Wrestling did a 0.03 rating, better than New Japan and Impact as usual. Tony Khan, Nigel McGuinness, and Adam Cole announced that AEW is coming to Wembley Stadium in August for an all-in show. And that arena can hold 94,000 fans. Apparently, the Jacksonville Jaguars play there quite regularly. And at one point, the Khan family actually wanted to buy the stadium. It's not the same stadium that WWE ran in 92 for SummerSlam before almost 80,000 fans. That one was torn down and a new one was put in place in 2007 that's slightly bigger. Dave Meltzer brings up in this Wrestling Observer newsletter that doing something like Sting's retirement match, bringing in Goldberg, bringing back CM Punk could all help get them to draw a good crowd there. They haven't been to the Europe or the UK before, so of course fans are going to travel for it. And AEW is actually on a better TV station than WWE in the UK. WWE drew almost 54,000 in Cardiff, Wales last September. So there's definitely a market for wrestling fans in the UK. It has not been announced as a pay-per-view event yet. There's rumors they're going to be holding All Out the following Sunday from the United Center in Chicago. Apparently, Bill Goldberg was getting paid $2 million a match to wrestle in Saudi Arabia for WWE. So if he does jump to AEW now that he's a free agent, he'd have a very high price tag. He would bring a lot of eyes to the show, though. Live Nation is co-promoting this show. Of course, Live Nation is a massive company that promotes concerts all over the world. Tony Khan put on a pay-per-view for Ring of Honor WrestleMania weekend, March 31st. 10,000-seat arena had 4,200 paid. They probably would have had a bigger crowd if they had made it an AEW show rather than a Ring of Honor show. But Nigel McGuinness, who recently did a podcast on this channel with John Paz, returned on that show, and it's been announced he signed with AEW. Jay White from New Japan also signed with AEW, debuted on Wednesday. Dave Meltzer brings up that they're running the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. on June the 14th. And he says this is notable because the last time they ran in Washington, they only had 3,100 paid for a TV taping at the smaller arena. So he says it's strange that they're going to the big arena. He says it's noteworthy that other than their July 8th show in Regina, there's no further Saturday TV taping dates announced at this point. However, the week after the Regina show, they are going to the Calgary Saddle Dome. And I actually looked it up on the Saddle Dome's ticket site. So there's still front row seats available. And I would imagine that this would be a TV taping. They just haven't announced yet. But they're charging like over $700, actually over $800 for some of the tickets. So that's crazy for a house show. And that's like a huge arena to run. I would suspect that maybe they're doing a TV taping there too, but it doesn't look like tickets are moving that well there if there's still front row tickets available. But that price for a house show, I don't know. Vicki Guerrero, who apparently is still under AEW contract. She's just one of the people not really being used well under contract, although she has said she's not returning once her contract expires. She's been with them since 2019. Her daughter that she had with Eddie, Sherilyn Guerrero, who's 27, claims that she was sexually assaulted by Vicki's current husband, Chris Benson, on the Chris Jericho cruise in 2020. She posted a video about it, said she was not the only victim. The sister, Shal Guerrero, apparently collaborated the story, but said she was not defending her sister. Vicki Guerrero responded by saying this, quote, "Are you enjoying the 2 cars that Chris bought you, the 3 apartments you bailed out of, the 2 surgeries you paid for? Your lies will catch up." End quote. So yeah, she's been married to this guy since 2015. So apparently Eddie, of course, passed away in 2005 due to heart issues related to drug use. In other wrestling news, Max Crabtree, the famous UK promoter, passed away this past week. He was born in 1933. His exact birth date is unknown. He was either 89 or 90, so a long life. In MLW news, Enzo is no longer with the company, but there is some controversy to this. Apparently he wasn't under any contract, and MLW put out a story that they released him because he refused to put over Alex Hammerstone. But Enzo said he recently put over a wrestler named Microman, and he was never under a contract to the promotion. He finds it hilarious that they're acting like there was more to it than that. And he said he never agreed to have a match with Hammerstone to begin with. And he told MLW, Court Bauer, his first day, he never wanted the main title, so it was false advertising when they recently announced the title match between him and Hammerstone. He said he was given a stack of posters to sign with the match advertised, and when he questioned it, Bauer said that he was told it was an oversight that slipped through the cracks because he was wearing too many hats. So there you go. In MMA news, Anthony Pettis beat Roy Jones Jr. in a boxing match via 8-round decision in the main event of George Masvidal's Gamebred boxing show. It took place April 1st. Jones got 700,000. Pettis got 650,000. Vitor Belfort, 46, also fought on the show. Knocked out Ronaldo Souza in an 8-round fight. Vitor got 400,000. Souza got 200,000. So there you go. George Masvidal is fighting in UFC, I think, tonight. And I did watch a press conference with him on the UFC's YouTube channel the other day. There's a guy that could cross over well to wrestling. I mean, but what struck me about the press conference was just how much more entertaining UFC press conferences are when you have a guy like George Masvidal that can talk than WWE, which is scripted now. But they put out some of the most boring pre-hype stuff, like just George Masvidal talking on his own, sitting at a table, talking about his fight was way more entertaining to me than the face-off they did last week on SmackDown with Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes. Didn't even compare for entertainment value. And that's just my neutral observation. It's funny that the real, even though it's not scripted, is more entertaining than the fake, which could be made way more entertaining because it's scripted. Tom, I'm doing great. Mike says, I'm telling you, the only person to take down Roman Reigns. Was Shane actually hurt? Yes. Big Dollar Dan, the left-hand man. Well, I did do an interview with Brutus Beefcake yesterday where he talked about Big Dollar Dan, the left-hand man. There was also an interview done with Missy Hyatt yesterday. 2 interviews worth checking out. Tom, why did Braun Breaker turn heel? I don't know. I guess they turned him heel. I didn't even see that. He's not on the main roster yet, though, so his gimmick on the main roster could be different. But from the NXT stuff I've seen, Braun Breaker, I wish they would let him use his real name. He has by far the most potential of anyone. Why is Cena now a jobber? Time to retire. He makes $8.5 million a year for having like one match a year. You only retire when you're not making money. Why would you retire if you're making 8.5 million a year to put somebody over? That's a pretty sweet deal to me. To wrestle for what? Was it even 15 minutes? You didn't do anything dangerous. Oh, Piper's relaxing today. She had a great breakfast. She was sleeping, Tom, but now she's melting in her daddy's arms. Chris says WWE brings mainstream personalities to boost interest. Well, AEW keeps bringing people that bring fewer fans. I don't know why they think these New Japan wrestlers are going to bring in mainstream fans. Like they really should. I agree. Bring in, and they didn't do it really well with Mike Tyson either. They had him do that thing with Jericho that never went anywhere. I think they used Snoop Dogg too. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone you can make me recall, but I don't know. I have no idea. Pubert. They should be pushing Braun Breaker to the moon. I think Braun Breaker should be the one to take Roman Reigns' title. I truly believe that. Did Rick beat up a fan? No, he allegedly, some people have said it didn't happen. There's no tape of it. Allegedly, he made some rude comments to a transgender wrestler from Impact. And then that transgender took to social media to complain about it. But as I said, yeah, it's a bad thing. But why don't you stand up to the person in person as well? Because they complained in the post that nobody stood up for her. Well, maybe if you stand up for yourself, some other people will back you because people definitely back you online. But you gotta bet. Oh my gosh, Piper's tired. Piper's falling right back to sleep. Daniel says it's been so bad lately. I just, there's only so much I can take. The Hall of Fame was like 3 hours last week for 5 inductions and 2 hours of SmackDown before that. That was just, it was too much. And then a 4-hour WrestleMania show with long breaks in between. God bless the people that like it. I don't deny their success, but I'll be honest. I'm in the middle of watching Striptease with the girl from Saved by the Bell, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. I never saw it when I was a kid. My parents didn't let me. I'd rather watch stuff that actually makes me happy because I noticed some people commented that I seemed in a really bad mood after watching those WWE shows. So I will continue to do watch logs here or there, but if they make me really upset and they make me seem like I'm in a bad mood, like why bother? The 80s wrestling that I loved made me happy. So Showgirls, yeah, Showgirls. It's on YouTube or whatever it's called. Pubert is not a fan of the 2-day WrestleMania. By the way, yeah, it is a cash grab. Who can blame them though if people are going to put up the money? But really, did we deserve to see The Miz against Snoop Dogg and The Miz against Pat McAfee, or however the hell you say his name? Both of those matches were really bad. Yes, Showgirls is a good movie, and I'm saying that from the heart. Like I say stuff when I like it, and I say stuff when I don't. I gave the first night of WrestleMania a decent rating, but it didn't make me want to sit through a second night. I'm sorry for that. So there you go. I didn't forget to do it. I was just didn't feel like being negative and sitting through it. So I canceled it because it's not worth feeling unhappy for. Will I do others? Yeah, I might even do SmackDown tonight. We'll see. The gym is closed here today. I'm going to go for a run right now. But besides having a good Friday dinner, I am not having much plans tonight, so I might do a watch along of SmackDown. Have I seen the Buff Bagwell movie on Tubi? No, but speaking of Buff Bagwell, him and DDP are going to be doing supposedly a combined interview with me very soon on this channel. I was talking to Rick Bassman about it today. So apparently Buff Bagwell has been working with DDP and turning his life around. So addiction is no joke, and DDP truly is a saint. I've heard Jake the Snake say that, and I agree with him. He's done so much good for so many wrestlers and average people out there. So on that note, have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you for watching the Hannibal TV. Please like this video if you